Hello. Reason I'm making this video is just try.
So why are you making this video? Oh man, that takes me back. Level 263. Started making YouTube videos. All the way back on October 18th, 2019. It's crazy to think that I've been doing this almost 3 years now. And over those almost 3 years, we've surpassed 100 YouTube videos. Whoops, kinda missed that milestone. This will be YouTube video number 104. Really doesn't feel like I've made that many, that's honestly insane. And over all these videos, we've amassed 1,500,000 video views, which is just absolutely mind-boggling numbers. But of course, you saw this coming. None of this would be possible without you. So sincerely, from the bottom of my cold, dark, leaf-loving heart, thank you. And here's the 10,000 more. If you'd like to join me over on Twitch, we're going to be reviewing some of my old content and cringing at it together. That'll be on Friday this week. More to come on an exact time. You can find more information about it over in my Discord, as well as a notification whenever I go live. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and roll some gameplay that I recorded recently, and we're going to go ahead and answer some questions that I got. So, first question we have is from Mining Master. How'd you find out about this game, and what made you start playing it consistently? Well, as far as playing it consistently, it would just come down to the cleanness and enjoyableness of just playing the game, as well as the endless grind, and at a later stage for me, making content for the game has kept it fresh and interesting for a long time. And my starting story with DRG is the same as a lot of other people, in that a friend invited me to play it, we played it together for a little while, and then they fell away from it. But only the strong survive, and I seem to be the last of any of my previous friend groups to still be playing DRG. But we make new friends, so it's all alright. Do you think quality of life should be a factor at all in balance, or should it just be numeric changes? I'm gonna say at the same time, the hardest yes and the hardest no. I think quality of life should be considered in a balanced discussion, but it should be considered impervious to balancing changes, if that makes sense. So, no, quality of life should never be used as a tool for balancing, but yes, it should be considered when balancing to prevent disrupting quality of life changes. The general smoothness and feeling of gameplay should never be sacrificed or leveraged against the player to make a certain build more annoying to play, even if it's not numerically worse. I would prefer numerical changes over annoyances. I hope that makes sense. What's your favorite, most fun mission type? And what's the most boring and least fun mission type? So I won't say that sabotage is the least fun or the most boring. Really, my disdain for it comes from the fact that I have to fight robots, which really don't gel with my style of play, and that it's not very lucrative for grinding. So I wouldn't call sabotage necessarily boring. I think the boring cake would have to go to morkite mining. That being said, I do enjoy morkite mining quite a bit personally. However, compared to the other missions, there's just not as much going on with it. And my most fun mission type would be a deadlock tie between point extraction and refinery. Point extraction really lets you show off your speed and efficiency in gameplay, not necessarily as a showcase style of play, just it feels really good to clear missions quickly and effectively. So ripping 7 of quarks down, throwing them into the minehead and launching the rocket in under 4 minutes always feels good, even after 100 times. And refinery is just nice to get creative and crazy with the pipes. Do you have hairy arms or no? Not really, and I'm not going to elaborate on that. How'd you get into speedrunning and running missions quickly and efficiently for XP? I think it's just the natural progression for people that don't want to participate in modded difficulties is to clear vanilla content more effectively and quickly. That and a lot of missions incentivize you to finish missions without taking an extreme amount of time so you don't nitro starve, or things like point extraction with the swarms constantly ramping up. So I'd say about 50% of it is the vanilla game suggesting that you play faster and more efficiently so that you don't die, and the other part is just that's kind of my skill curve, and it's the method of play that I want to patent and perfect. And it looks really good. And two of kind of the same question. Other than Deep Rock, what else do you play? Also, congrats on 10k. Thank you, Glass. I've spent a lot of time with the Souls series. I also really enjoy Borderlands 2, less so the pre-sequel and the things that came after it, Ori and the Blind Forest, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Terraria, Payday 2, regrettably, and I spent a little bit of time with Rocket League. I was Grand Champ in Season 3. But all in all, other than some new games that come out that I play for 10 or 15 hours, things like Tunic, Death's Door, and Grime, I really don't mainly play any games other than Deep Rock Galactic. Between actually playing the game itself, optimizing speed play, testing new tech with people like Milligan and Servand, prototyping builds, and just making content, I really don't have time or the want to play many other games. So, I wish I had a better answer, but there you go. If you could rework the robots to make them more fun to fight, how would you do it? I think the most painful enemies to fight in Deep Rock Galactic are enemies that have ranged attacks. But the thing is, most enemies that have ranged attacks are primarily ranged enemies and aren't also melee enemies, with the exceptions being boss-type enemies like Dreadnoughts and Betsy. However, the robots tend to do both very effectively. While turrets only shoot you, they shoot you extremely effectively. Patrol bots can come into melee range while shooting you, and then instantly swap to the rolling mode to crash into you. The robotic appendages in the Caretaker fight can barrage you with bullets from a distance and then instantly slam into you. I think it's a blend of melee and ranged combat from the same enemies that the robots tend to have as a bar standard abilities that makes them so annoying. If you just had one robot that was purely ranged and one that was purely melee, like turrets and shredders, I don't think we would resent the overall faction as much as we do. But things like patrol bots and the prospectors that spawn them make the robots highly resented. And the prospector being an unavoidable event for the most part, as he'll just fly into a radiation crystal and suddenly he's pissed at you. Any upcoming games you're looking forward to? Also, what's your favorite kind of pizza? Still waiting on the tier list. I'll get to it eventually. But honestly, no, not too many games coming out soon that I'm super excited for. I usually figure out about new indie games in like the $10 to $30 price range that are shorter experiences after they've already come out and other people being like, hey, you'd probably like this. So honestly, for the time being, I'm just looking forward to Season 2. Also, best pizza, pepperoni, salami, and black olive. I'll fight you. Who do you think is the best class, and why is it engineer? Well, I'm not going to let you rig this conversation completely, but I do think the engineer is overall the best class in the most scenarios. Now let me explain a little bit. I think engineer is in general the best solo class, however certain missions other classes will supersede him, like drillers and scouts on point extraction, and gunners for salvage. That being said, overall, I think the best class for all mission types, not being selective, is the engineer. He has a great blend of DPS and movement. He's also an incredibly strong solo class. That being said, if we were to put him on a tier list, the engineer would be S tier and everything else would be A+. So it's really not a wide gap. Do you have any hobbies or aspirations outside of gaming? Nothing that I'm pursuing very directly. I do work a full-time job in the aviation industry, and I'm passively working on a degree through some online courses. Although my progress on that has been relatively slow over the last couple of years. Other than that, I really don't consider video production and streaming gaming directly, so I guess I can list that here. To continue to improve video and audio editing skills and get better as a streamer and kind of a general purpose content creator. It's pretty closely tied in with gaming at this point, and basically everything I do is in some way related to content creation these days in games, but I think it's a little bit different. Do you think the deep dives need some sort of rework or trend towards being harder endgame content? While I think I would enjoy some more hard and endgame style of content, I don't know if increasing the difficulty of the deep dives is the way to go. I think having a more difficult game mode that rewards blank cores repetitively would be nice. However, I don't think it should be so hard that only players that are already fully equipped can do it. This is kind of a spaghetti of ideas in my head, but I think a good step for actually reworking the existing deep dives would be to fully commit to the idea that they are get in, get out, high speed, don't waste your time, do the objectives and leave, by fully removing Huli Hoarders and gold from those missions as well. It really just feels out of place considering everything else of value is removed, like machine events, helmets, crate prospectors, core locks. It really just feels out of place that there's still gold and Huli Hoarders in particular in them. So as far as reworking existing stuff, strip out everything but gameplay necessary content from the existing deep dives, and maybe add some sort of infinite assignment that you can take off the board that perpetually gets more modifiers or something like that. Do you think the Battle Pass system was a step in the right direction, or a mistake compared to how DRG has been for the last 4 years? This is a really good question that deserves a lot more discussion than I'm going to give it here, but basically I think the existing long-term grind systems in the game were extremely frustrating for new players, and I think a battle pass does make a little bit more sense. The fact that it remains free and none of the content is actually missable really does a lot to undermine any arguments that can be made against it. Aside from saying, oh, developer time would have been better spent elsewhere, I really think it's harmless overall. That and the more thematic seasons having a little bit of story behind them is definitely an attractor for some people. And it's certainly nice to have something that we can actually grind that isn't locked behind a weekly reset. In theory, if you had all the hours in the day, you could complete the season pass in 1 week if you really wanted to. However, things like blank matrix cores have a set amount that you can get every week, which kind of limits people that might want to play more for more rewards rather than just playing for the sake of playing. Playing for the sake of playing isn't a bad thing by any means. The game is extremely fun and you're always gaining level, but just some food for thought. Was watching the Drop podcast, you talked about choosing an overclock. Do you think error cubes would be a good use in this situation? No, I really don't think error cubes should be implemented for any practical purpose. If they were implemented for anything, I think it should be for something consumable and perishable, like getting to build your own mission with your own modifiers and choose the biome or something like that. I really don't think there should be any permanently unlockable content locked behind error cubes, because there's only going to be 2 camps of players in that situation. Those who already have a massive amount built up that are just going to buy everything there is to buy instantly, and those who don't have enough, and RNG is so out of their favor that it basically does nothing for them. So implementing some sort of cosmetic system that's multiple error cubes for a single item would be an incredible slog for new players. Although if it's only cosmetic, it wouldn't really do any harm, but I just think that they're a little bit too rare to justifiably lock anything of interest behind. That said though, we need more ways to get blank cores. I completely agree with that. Would you prefer them focus on a more bug-related story for Season 2, some new dreads or other rival robotic tech? And likewise, what are your biggest worries for the game going forwards? I mean, I think I speak for a lot of people when I say I just don't find the robots fun to engage with. They're really not fun to fight, and the second season in a row being themed directly around them and introducing new and improved forms of those robots is a little disheartening to see. That said, we haven't really seen how the gameplay is going to be for Season 2 and how the robots are going to reappear, so hopefully it'll be more interesting and more engaging content. I'm keeping my fingers crossed, but you asked me directly what some of my worries for the future of the game are, and that's definitely one of them. What content creator did you look up to or got you excited to play when you first started out? Man, it's crazy, because there is one person and a correct answer to this question. Milligan, absolutely. After I made my first video and it was just an uninterrupted stream of consciousness of me playing an Elite Deep Dive, I hit him up. I hit him up in his DMs on Discord, and I asked him some questions about how he makes videos, what he uses to edit, and kind of his creative process. And he provided me a lot of really insightful information. And while I didn't copy his content cookie cutter anyways, you can definitely see some traces of inspiration in my content. He spends most of his time over on Twitch now, but you should go drop him a follow if you're maybe looking out for some inspiration to get into content creation yourself. Why is It's a Bug Thing the most powerful perk to ever grace the game? Alright, let me hear. There you go. Fixed it for you. Would you smash or pass a loot bug? How do you handle all the negativity or toxic positivity in the DRG community, particularly in the comments of your gold video? Also, you ever think you go too hard in dunking on them? There's something to be said for individuals coming to a video that is specifically designed to help individuals who want to optimize their gameplay with tips to optimize their gameplay, and leaving some empty-skulled comment about how I suck at the game and my way of playing isn't fun and that I'm a leaf lover. So it's a little discouraging in a way, but at the same time, the silent majority says, good job. So, you know, there's that. And do I ever go too hard in dunking on them? I mean, they seek me out and take shots at me, so everything's fair game in my opinion. But if you want to hear me talk shit on people live, you can find me over on Twitch. Congrats! You're a big inspiration for me, and you help my gameplay improve a lot. What are your future plans for the channel? Much love. Thank you so much, I really appreciate it. As far as plans for the future, I mean, I have plenty of open series right now, like the mission guides, Season 2 is about to come out, I need to finish Hazard 5 Basics for the other 3 classes, and we're starting Deep Dive Debrief tomorrow, so I've got a lot of plans and a lot of stuff on my plate currently, so really, I've got a lot of series to finish, and also with Season 2 right around the corner, there's a lot going on. Other than that, though, in the pipeline, I'd like to make some video essays at some point in the future. I'm not sure if anyone's really familiar with that format. I think a lot of people watch them and don't really refer to them that way. Kind of like a 30 to 40 minute video on a certain, like, game concept or just any real concept that you want to take a deep dive into. I have one of those drafted up on my timeline right now. It really needs a lot more bones to be workable, but that's something I'd really like to make in the future. Also, you should all go join the Rock and Stone Discord that Shinshin runs. Face reveal when? As much as I like to give you a sarcastic answer, I think my voice being connected to this old curmudgeon dwarven character is rather charming, but maybe someday. Maybe I'll take a soy jack selfie with my silver play button when we make it to 100k. Start making some alt accounts and tell your mom to subscribe. But that's about all I have for you today. Remember, I'm going to be premiering Deep Rock Debrief tomorrow at the same time, so make sure you're here for that. Catch me live on Friday where we're going to go over some of my old content and cringe at it together. If you'd like to catch me live at any other time, I stream over on Twitch. If you'd like to talk to me about the last 3,000 hours of Deep Rock Galactic, you can talk to me or my community members over on Discord. And, as always, thank you for watching, and have a nice day.